again, everybody, and welcome to this new video. In this video is a follow-up of a previous video that I did today about Advanced Themer, which is a new Bricks add-on for Bricks Builder, of course. I just want to do a little follow-up with using that with another framework. Like in my case, I'm going to be using it with ACSS, Automatic CSS. But you can do the same with Oxy or BricksProps, Winden, or any other platform as well. So if you have not seen the other video, I'm going to put the link in the description below. Be sure to watch it first because I'm not going to go through all the things that I went in that video. I just want to show you my settings that I'm using here with Automatic CSS and Advanced Themer to work together. Because, of course, I know that many people are commenting, I don't need that. I already have ACSS or I already have BricksProps or so on. So it's the same thing. Well, let me show you a few things that are way more advanced than that. I may show a couple of features just because the other video is about an hour long. So this one is going to be a lot shorter. So maybe resume a few things that you might be interested in, even if you have another framework like ACSS. So let's dive in right away. ACSS settings, didn't change the default settings for most of them. The only things that I changed, first of all, I'm using the Pro mode, which deactivates most of the classes because I'm working with variables, not with classes most of the time. There are some exceptions here and there, sometimes maybe for grids, for example, but most of the time it's going to be variables, so I don't need those classes. So that's why Kevin has created this Pro mode. Not wide in the sense that it did it for me, but people that use it like I did. So the main difference is the options here and my palette. I did deactivate the color palette of ACSS. And then again, of course, that's really up to you. You might want to keep it. You might want to get rid of it. I feel that using both is overkill. Having both this one and the theme setting color palette that we have here as well. So I decided to go with the color palette of Advanced Themer, sorry. Why is that? Well, simply because this one has a feature that I don't think ACSS has and the other frameworks as well, which is this little feature here, replace Gutenberg color palettes. That means that when you edit a post in Gutenberg, sorry, this one is in French, but that's okay. I have all my color palette here instead of the default Gutenberg palette that is appearing here. So I can use that for any of my settings and the color settings anyway, inside of Gutenberg, which will not be the case if I'm using ACSS. So that prevents me from having to use another plugin or some manual code to be able to create my own custom colors inside of Gutenberg. So that's the main reason why I decided to go with the colors of the color palette of Advanced Themer instead of ACSS. Beside that, I didn't change any other settings. Of course, you might want to change some of those for your own specific project, but mostly I didn't change anything except, like I said, the advanced feature. And I think I maybe have enabled a couple of other options like fixed paragraph editing here, variable expansion, but this is just how I use ACSS usually, okay? So now what are my settings inside of Advanced Themer? So of course, the typography here, I didn't take the time to remove all of them. Maybe in a real project, I would take the time to do so because there's a lot of them. And these will be loaded from what I saw, even if you don't use them. So if you really don't want to use them because you want to use ACSS or OxyProps or any other instead, I would encourage you to delete them one by one instead. You will have to do it just once, hopefully, if you take a site like Kevin and many others like myself, including myself, encourage you to do is create a kind of a starter site that you can reuse and start from that site. I do that personally with WP Vivid Pro. Really easy to export a site to another server or to another place and start from there without having to set everything up. So these will be done already if you do it like that. Spacing, same thing here. You have a lot of them, so you might want to take the time to remove them. Really up to you. I took the time, well, I thought I took the time to remove those because there's not a lot of them. And of course, it's not a big amount of weight, but if you really don't want to use them, then that's probably better to just get rid of them. So I don't know why I thought I had did that previously, but anyway. So I just did the custom variables and grids, but you might want to take the time to do all of them if you wanted to. But I kept the colors. For the builder tweak itself, I kept the contrast checker because I think that it's really awesome that you can take a look to make sure that the contrast between your foreground and background color is high enough. For example, if I come here to change my background color and put a darker background color like that, it's clear that it's not, of course I exaggerated, but it's clear that it's not accessible. The color contrast is not high enough. So when you toggle that switch here, it will show you everywhere that there's not enough contrast, so you can change that after. So that's a neat tool. Same thing if you think that you're going to use the dark mode, you will probably want to toggle that on as well, which is not my case, but maybe in your case, any other tool as well. But this is my setting in my case with ACSS. So this great tool here, enable extend global classes and styles. This is really great. How do we use that? So let me simply get rid of that. Let me do a little bit of cleaning here. So the extend, for example, here I have one heading with a container heading. Look, there's a little mistake here. Container header class. And of course, you will want to create classes, your own classes. But in this particular case, now once it's done, I still have to go through all my elements and enable that on those. So one of the great tools of Advanced Themer that you can use even if you have another framework is to duplicate this class on every other element. So of course, if I duplicate that again many times, you see that the more we have, the longer it will be to go one and after the other to set that up. So the expand feature that you can have on the right click here, extend classes and styles, or directly here with that little icon in the panel, the left panel. If I click on that, I can expand the global classes or the styles if it's an inline style or an ID on the ID level. I suggest you go with the classes. I had already my heading selected, so it's going to apply to all the headings, but you can apply that to other elements if you want to. And then you choose where you want to apply it. So the same level means that I have a header inside a block. So if I have 3 or 4 elements inside that same block, it's going to target those. In my case, many headings, which is not my case. So of course, this one would do nothing. Then you have the parent div if it's a div, block if it's a block. In my case, the parent is a block, but I have only one element inside of it, so it will not do what I want. So what I want to target here, they are all on the same container here. They are child of the same container. So I'm going to target everything inside that container. So this one is the one that I'm going to choose. Of course, my container is inside the section, so that would be the same thing. And in the old page, if they are in different sections, you can use the old page if you want to instead. So now I'm going to extend, and suddenly, boom, my class is applied to all the headings inside my container at once. And of course, we know after that that if I make changes to that specific heading, of course, I need to unlock this, by the way. It will be applied everywhere, of course. Okay, because this is a class. So this is a great feature. Another great feature, you see that all my headings are selected, simply not selected here in the structure panel, but you see a little bounding box. This is simply because I have another little feature activated. I'm going to close that one, which is enable highlight classes when selected. So once an element with a specific class is selected, It's going to also show you all the other elements that have the same class, or classes if there's more than one. So that way you know that when I make one change, what will it affect? Well, it will affect all those elements here. So that's why you have that little bounding box. That's great. That's a great feature. Copy ID to styles to classes. This is a great feature. Let's say, for example, I don't know, I want to go in my block and by mistake, I forget to create a class. And we know that if you listen to Kevin's videos, we really want to create a class for everything. But if you forget to do so, you start styling it. And I don't know what I could do with that box, but let's say I want to put some padding inside of it, let's say. I don't know, 2 rem. Okay. And whoops, I did it on the ID level. And I want to do that in a class instead. So usually what I would have to do is undo that, then create a class, then create the same thing inside that class. Well, thankfully with this feature here that we have, which is copy style ID styles to classes, I can just come here, click on that little button, and it will ask me to give it a name. So let's say block, I don't know, just block for now, and say that. And it's going to create the class block and put all the styles inside of it. So now you see that I have my padding in my block. And if I clear that, there's nothing else there. So everything is inside the block itself. Of course, again, all those other blocks don't have the same feature. So I could still use my other global classes here, apply that to the block on the same container, extend, boom. Now they all have the same class. So sorry, need to select the block. So block here, they all have the same class. That's a great time-saving feature. Plain classes, again, if you are using ACSS or another tool like that, that little button here allows you to add more than one class at the same time. So for example, this is exactly what I have here. I have a container and I want to make a grid out of it. So instead of clicking here, selecting, for example, the grid 3, and then selecting again the grid M for the spacing. Sorry, I think it was the space that I needed to choose. I'm not that used to ACSS yet. That's why I use Plaster, by the way. So grid here, I need to have my gap. That's what I'm looking for, that gap. Sometimes we do two things at the same time while we do the video. So I want a gap M and a grid 3. Well, I need to do that in 2 different steps or more steps. Well, with that little plain feature here, I can just select my container, come here, and manually add my grid 3 space gap -m right there in 1 step, update my class, and now you see both are applied at the same time. So if you need to add 2, 3, 4, 5 classes, you can do that in 1 step instead of having to click many times. So all the frameworks that use classes will have that same issue. That is quickly solved, sorry, by that. Beside that, my other settings, extend global classes, find and replace styles. Well, I have enabled it, but not necessarily something that you need to use. This is just if you want to replace one property with another, the font family with another, for example, across all your classes, you can use the find and replace style. So not something I'm sure that I will use, but maybe some of you will find it useful. I like classes when selected and count classes as well, so that's okay. Here, my shortcuts, pretty useful. Again, these are the shortcuts that I have here. So I want to go directly to my background setting when I'm on my container, for example, or go directly to the content tab. I can quickly switch to the right panel without having to always click to close one or open the other, especially if I'm here and I want to go directly to the border, for example. I need to click Style, then Border. Well, with that, we can go there directly with one click. Same thing for the over. Instead of clicking the over and then clicking on hover here and then so on, 2-3 clicks, I can just click on that here and it goes directly to the over style. I do my thing, I toggle that off, and now have the over, the before, the after, the active, and the focus. Again, more detail in the other video if you want to have more details. Lorem ipsum generator could be useful. If it is, you can enable that there. The other ones, I use my keyboard shortcut instead of using those tools, so not necessarily need those tools. Strict editor could be useful. Look at the other video for more info about that. And in the settings, I have my dark mode toggle and the style guide that are added here. So if you want to use, if you want to use the dark mode, which is for now at least not available in ACSS, you can always use a little switch here, and you can work with the colors to insert that, to toggle your color, dark and light mode with that little toggle. Or you also have a button if you prefer a button, dark mode button here. Style guide is simply a way to output the colors. For example, if you are working with a developer, you need to output the colors here somewhere on a specific page. So you can go there and output the swatches for your main color with the color code there and so on. This could be useful. Of course, not necessarily something that you do on every website. So replace Gutenberg palette, as I already said, could be useful. And depending on if you want to show or not Advanced CSS, because yes, Advanced CSS is provided with Advanced Themer. So Advanced Custom Field, what did I say? Advanced CSS, sorry. With Advanced Themer, Advanced Custom Field Pro is provided. This is an older version, to be honest, so that's why you don't have the ability for now to create custom post types and taxonomies, because that's a new feature of 6.1, 6.11, I think, or 6.10 anyway. And that's an older version, so hopefully at some point it will be updated and you will have access to that. If you don't want to use that, you can simply toggle that option off and use Metabox, use Jet Engine or any other instead of that. So I hope this video was useful. So even if you already use a framework, there's no reason why you wouldn't want to use Automatic CSS. Advanced Themer. Trying to go too fast. That being said, of course, this is not a requirement. This is just to speed up development. But if you have other tricks, if you know a lot of keyboard shortcuts, I know that they don't always work in my browser, but if it works for you, then fine. This is not a must-have plugin, but this is a little time saver here and there that can enhance your experience working with Bricks. So if you like that video, just click on the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for other videos like that. Have a good day. Oh, by the way, just one last thing. Advanced CSS right now, Advanced Themer, sorry. I'm going to say it the right way. Advanced Themer is still available right now for if you want to have the lifetime unlimited version. It is still available until tomorrow. So really up to you if you want to get that before the price rise. There will be another LTD at some point, but the price will be higher again. And then it will be closed for, well, not say forever. There might be some Black Friday sales here and there, but most of the time it will not be available as an unlimited license anymore. Those will probably stay there until they reach the 300 and 200 licenses. But if you want the unlimited one, it's just until tomorrow. Thank you. Have a good day.